Now that we're in this era of face coverings, I wanted to break down my own experience with sewing different types of masks. Hey guys, welcome to the Sewing Report. I'm Jen and I do weekly videos about sewing crafts and DIY projects. And in the past few months since this whole pandemic started, I have been sewing quite a few different types of face masks. I've tried the different styles, so I wanted to share in this video how I feel about the different styles, which ones I found the easiest to sew, and which ones I found to be a pain in the ass, quite frankly. Quick disclaimer, I'm obviously not a medical expert and these face masks are non-medical grade. I'll link some resources from the CDC and other health organizations, but it is up to you to do your own research to determine what is the safest and best option for you and your family. That being said, I have been trying out all different types of face masks. I have tried the curved fitted style, the pleated folded style with a pocket for a filter, and I've also tried this super basic pleated style where you sew the elastic into the mask itself. This is just 2 layers, there's no filter. And I also wanted to talk about my recent experience sewing the 3D face masks, which at this point are certainly my favorite to sew and wear, and I will explain why. I'm going to go through my own personal pros and cons with trying to sew each style. So when this all started, I was looking, there are so many mask tutorials online. It's, in my opinion, kind of hard to tell which ones are better. Obviously, you can make them with different materials. First, I decided to go for the curved fitted style. I found a free template by Cricut, and I decided to make over 30 of them to donate to a local health facility. There are some good things and bad things. I do like the way that this style is fitted. I don't really like doing the pleats on the pleated style, so I thought this seemed good. You could put a nose wire into the curved fitted style. I mean, you could really figure out a way to put the nose wire into a lot of different styles. I found this garden twist tie from Home Depot, and I did do a video a while back giving some tips on making better face masks. So if you want to check out that video, you can, and I go more into detail on my own techniques. Now, the curved fitted styles, I liked the way that they go on your face. You can breathe in them. I found when I'm trying to wear the pleated styles, I kind of have a hard time, like it gets like caught on my mouth, and if you're wearing like lip gloss or lipstick, it really gets like stuck up on there. A bad thing about the curved fitted styles though is I found that there's quite a bit of fabric waste because you're cutting curves and not just rectangles like the standard kind. You do end up throwing quite a bit of fabric away if you can't figure out what to do with them. The scraps are very small, so I found they're kind of hard to use for other projects. I would say these masks definitely took me the longest. It took me a week to make like 30. I'm slow to begin with at sewing, but I found this particular style to be rather frustrating with the time commitment. So again, if you're trying to bust out a lot of masks quickly and, you know, give them to friends and family or to donate, I found these certainly took me the longest. And the other downside with these is when I was making them, I would throw them into the laundry after I was done with them, and they would come out super balled up and wrinkled. Again, that's quilting cotton for you, but still, after I washed them, I ended up having to spend a lot of time pressing them out again to make them look nice. So, I mean, not that the aesthetics really matter that much, but if you're trying to give them away or give them to people, you know, you kind of don't want them to look all wrinkly and crumbled. So I had to spend a ton of time afterwards pressing them. And since they're curved, I ended up having to use my Tailor's ham because it's hard to press them on a flat surface because the masks are curved themselves. I do like the way that they fit around your face. And I did like that the Cricut version, there are a lot of different templates and patterns out there now. You can have different sizes and they, you know, felt nice when you're wearing them. Pretty comfortable, and you were easy to breathe. I think there were too many cons with this style that I'm no longer making that particular variety. Then I also found a tutorial on a pretty simple version of a pleated mask with a filter, and I'll link the video. I found it from below. It was in centimeters, so I did translate it into inches, and I do like those masks. In fact, that's the one I wore to the grocery store for quite a while. I added a nose wire in it, and I also liked that you didn't have to sew the elastic into the mask itself like this one. The good thing about these is that, again, they're just rectangles, so there's no fabric waste. I did find, though, when I washed them, I mean, with these masks, pretty much whenever you wash them, you have to spend some time pressing them for the most part. So that is a negative in my opinion. You know, if you can't just take it out and wear it and you have to keep ironing it all the time. I'm okay with ironing, but you know, I don't want to spend my whole life ironing or anything like that. So that was a downside. Also, pleating it afterwards. Like when you're making the masks, you kind of make it's 3 pieces of fabric, you fold them over, and then you end up pleating that and sewing that. With the pleats, it kind of made it hard on my sewing machine because there's so many layers. My sewing machine certainly, and most sewing machines are gonna struggle with it unless you have like an industrial one. I do have a Sailrite that I almost never use. Not really sure why, I'm still kind of afraid of it. Maybe I'll do a video about that someday. But with the pleated styles, I did find that your sewing machine is probably gonna struggle. You might get skipped stitches. I did use a walking foot for this project. It still really struggled over all, like there, at one point there, you know, you might have like what, like maybe like 6 to 8 layers or something. So that is a downside. I did like that you could kind of roll up the sides to make the sleeve for the elastic, and I ended up at a certain point not sewing the elastic. I would just kind of run it through the sleeve. And the other thing you can do is you can actually put the elastic into the sleeve for it before you sew it. So you fold it over once, you fold it over twice, and then you sew the edge closed. And then I would just knot the ends and then kind of hide the knot into the sleeve. So that was sort of the way I ended up trying to make these a little bit faster. But with the pleated style, I found that they were pretty comfortable overall, but it's hard to talk in them, it's hard to breathe. And again, you get the issue with your lips like catching on the pleats, which is kind of gross. And then the other thing I was running into is whenever I'm wearing a mask, I plan out the day so that when I'm going shopping, I'm not wearing makeup, because pretty much no matter which style it was, makeup would get all over the inside of the mask. If you guys have any suggestions on foundation that truly does not transfer, let me know. I have not found one yet personally. So now we're gonna get to this basic face mask. I used the Melanie Ham tutorial, and I'll link all the tutorials I followed below in the description box. Again, I'm not doing a face mask tutorial myself. There are just so many out there. I don't feel I need to, but I did want to share just what I think of all these styles, because I have had a lot of frustration and headache trying to sew all these face masks. This is my least favorite for various reasons. As I mentioned, the pleats, I find your sewing machine struggles with them. I also don't really like making the pleats. I find it to be kind of a hassle personally. The other thing that I really dislike is trying to sew these elastics into the mask. You have to get the elastic like just right, and I was having trouble trying to get them to stick out at the angle I wanted to, so mine were like all over the place. So this one is kind of at a diagonal, but sometimes they would be going horizontally or vertically, and I could never really get them to be consistently good as far as the elastic placement. I also find that, again, these in the wash, you really have to press these out after you take them out of the dryer. And the other thing I would tell you is that when I'm washing my masks, I'll put them in the washing machine and then I'll only put them in the dryer for like maybe 10 minutes. And at that point they're kind of damp, and then I will press them, because if you wait until they're really dry, they'll come out super crinkled, and then you'll have a harder time pressing them. And I've found that it's easier for me to press them if they're at least somewhat damp, because then they're not kind of already in this shape. So this basic style, this is like the one that I enjoyed sewing the least, and these also weren't real quick for me. I know Melanie is very fast. I am not very fast. I found these still took me quite a bit of time to do, and I think the part for me that I disliked was the pleats always take me a long time. You also have to top stitch all the way around and, you know, leave the hole for the openings. So for several reasons, this was not my favorite. So let's get to the mask that I've recently discovered that I like sewing the most. And that is the style I'm starting to see everywhere, the 3D mask style. And I made a template. So these are pretty much just rectangles. So there's very little fabric waste, which is good. And I did have to make several different prototypes to kind of get it to work with my face. Being Asian and Korean, my head shape is kind of strange. So a lot of the mask styles I was seeing, they kind of work for Caucasian faces or your more traditional head shapes, but mine is weird. The back of my head is flat. So that lends some challenges to things like hats. I can't really wear headbands at all. The headbands, just like the elastic headbands, they just kind of like eventually just pop off. I have some struggles that I think most people don't. So this is certainly something that is unique to me. And also the front of my face is flatter. I don't really have a nose bridge. So that presents some challenges for me with the face mask wearing as far as to get it to cover my nose. But the 3D face mask, I feel like it works better for my face type. I kind of tweaked it, so I'll link the video that I found that was the tutorial for these. I found this to be by far the easiest mask to make, and I'll talk about why. And I tweaked the measurements slightly, so this template I made, 10.25 inches or 10.25 inches long. It is 7.5 inches tall, and then you end up kind of measuring 2 inches in and 2 inches this way, and then cutting a diagonal line off of each side. So you end up getting this template. Pretty much everything about the 3D mask style is a win in my book. Super easy to trace and cut out the pieces. Also, I love that you leave some pretty big openings at the end. So turning is a breeze. You don't have to like close up an opening because the ends that you end up leaving open are going to be folded into the sleeves for the elastics. And of course, I did shoot the process of making a 3D mask, so let's go to that right now. There are only 2 mirrored pattern pieces. You place them right sides together. Most supplies featured here are linked down below. Instead of pins, I opted to glue baste on the top and bottom. Hit the areas with a dry iron to secure. Sew the top and bottom, leaving the sides open. This is the Brother CS7000i sewing machine with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. Your pieces should look like this with stitching in these areas. Clip the corners to help reduce bulk. Now carefully turn the project right side out and press out the edges and corners the best you can. A point turner or other object works well to assist in poking out those corners. Press well on both sides. Fold up the long sides by 2 inches. The main fabric will be on the outside of the fold. Next will be top stitching on the edges about a 1/4 inch away from the fold. Because these stitches are visible, I went with a 3.0 stitch length. I chose white thread so it blends in, but you can use a contrasting color for some pop. Fold up the long side back on itself so it's sort of a single pleat. You'll need 2 pieces of elastic. This is 1/4 inch flat elastic cut to 11.5 inches. On each side, place the elastic and fold over twice. Pin or clip, making sure the elastic is pushed back away from the inside folds. That's where you'll be sewing. Take it all back to the sewing machine and edge stitch about 1/8 inch with a 2.5 stitch length. Back stitch at the beginning and end. Last step, bring the ends of the elastic up together and tie a knot. Slide the knot into the sleeve you created. I found this to be easier than sewing the elastic and it's faster. And we're all done. You may have noticed I did not add a nose wire to this first batch of 3D masks, but that would be really easy to do. You just need to insert the nose wire in before you fold over that first flap and then top stitch it. But I found that when I'm wearing the 3D mask, that it really kind of envelopes my nose pretty well as far as an enclosure. So I think that is a huge plus. I love that there's no pleating involved, so that is great. They come together really easily, and this was by far the fastest I was able to sew a mask. The others were taking me at least like an hour for each mask or something. Like, I'm so slow though. But the 3D mask, I could make one in 15 to 20 minutes. And for me, that is lightning speed. So that is a plus. I batch sewed a few of them and that went pretty well. And this was, in my opinion, the least frustrating and easiest mask to make if you're trying to make a large number of masks, or if you just don't like feeling frustrated. I don't like to feel like I want to bang my head against the wall while sewing. So this project was pretty chill. It was relaxing, and again, there were no parts or steps of making the 3D masks where I felt like, oh, this is by far my favorite at this point. I'm gonna try to make some more. Been using some fun prints up. And another plus, I find out of all the mask styles I've tried, these launder the best. Like, when you pull them out of the dryer, you don't really have to press them. You can, but these do not come out super wrinkly. Yeah, they might be a little bit folded or whatever, but it's still very wearable and you can press them. But this is the one style I found where you don't absolutely have to press. But with the others, if you don't press them, they just were like a big old mess. Those are just my reasons as to why the 3D face masks are my favorite. Also, when I'm wearing them, I found that this works the best for my face type, and you may have to make a couple to see like which size is best for your face. So even though I gave you my measurements, that might not work for your face type, but make a couple and see if you need to make any tweaks. I ended up making my template a little bit longer than the original just because I wanted to end up making a bigger sleeve for the elastic. And again, I ended up sewing the elastic in, so I didn't have to like try to run it through. That's another hack maybe if you're making masks. Insert the elastic before you sew the sleeve so then you don't have to like take a safety pin or whatever and try to run it through. I'm trying to make my life easier, not harder, and I feel like the 3D mask style is, in my book, huge thumbs up. I think they're cute. And when I'm wearing them, I'm able to breathe, I'm able to talk. They don't get stuck on my lips as much, so I'm a fan. Anyways, that is the latest update from the Sewing Report headquarters on making masks. And again, I will link some resources down below, so be sure to check those out. And if you've been making masks, what's your favorite style and why? Let me know in the comments. I'm Jen with the Sewing Report. I'll see you guys again in the next video.